Hello, and welcome to Boring History for Sleep. Settle in now. Let the weight of your day begin to soften. Find a comfortable position and allow the sounds of the world outside to fade into the gentle patter of rain against a distant window. There is nothing for you to do right now, nowhere for you to be, except here, resting. Tonight, we travel back in time. Not to the Rome of gleaming marble and triumphant parades that you see in films, but to a different Rome. A real Rome. A city of shadows and whispers, of immense struggle and quiet dignity. We are going to explore the hidden lives that moved beneath the great monuments, the silent stories that unfolded in the city's heart. Our journey will take us to four distinct corners of the Roman world. First, we will descend into the crowded, dangerous alleys of the suburb district to understand what life was really like for the common person in a teeming apartment block. Then, we will enter the world of high politics and personal tragedy as we follow the life of a remarkable woman, Cornelia, a mother who shaped a revolution. From there, we will step into the darkness of an underground temple to investigate the secrets of a mysterious cult that captivated Roman soldiers. And finally, we will ascend to the gilded halls of the Palatine Hill to spend a day in the paranoid and opulent world of an emperor. But that all comes later. For now, simply breathe. Breathe in and out. Let your mind become still. Let the details of the past gently wash over you, a slow and steady current to carry you toward rest. Our story begins in the heart of the city, in the year 110 AD. During the reign of the Emperor Trajan, close your eyes and imagine yourself here. The air in your small room is cool and damp before the dawn. You live on the 5th floor of a towering apartment building, or insula, in the suburb, Rome's most densely populated and infamous neighborhood. The word insula means island, and that is what these structures are. Islands of humanity, stacked one on top of the other, rising precariously towards the sky. Imagine the building itself. It is not made of the stone and marble of the Forum. It is a hasty construction of timber frame supports and cheap, sun-dried brick. The walls are thin, the floors uneven. You can hear the life of the building all round you, the cough of the old man in the room next door, the cry of a baby on the floor below, the quiet, rhythmic snoring of your own family, sharing this single, small space. There is no formal clock to start your day. The first sign of morning is a subtle shift in the quality of the light filtering through the single and glazed window. And then, the sounds begin. A distant rumble at first, which grows steadily into the daily cacophony of Rome. It is the sound of a city of 1,000,000 souls waking at once. The iron-rimmed wheels of a heavy supply cart clattering over the uneven flagstones below. The sharp, repetitive cries of street vendors setting up their stalls, hawking their wares. Bread, beans, water from the aqueducts. Imagine yourself rising from your simple straw-stuffed mattress on the floor. The air is thick with a complex tapestry of scents. The lingering smell of wood smoke from yesterday's brazier, the dampness in the plaster, the closeness of unwashed bodies, and, drifting up from the street, the ever-present aroma of the city, a mix of cooking food, animal waste, and the dust of 1,000,000 lives in constant motion. Your first task of the day is a wearying one. There is no running water on the upper floors of the insula. A small clay jug is all you have. If you want water for washing or for the morning's meager meal of wheat porridge, you must fetch it yourself. Picture the journey. You pick up the heavy jug and unbar your flimsy wooden door. The stairwell is dark, narrow, and treacherous. The wooden steps creak and groan under your weight, slick with damp and refuse. You descend, floor by floor, past the closed doors of your neighbors, each holding a family just like yours. The journey down 5 flights is a careful one. The journey back up, with the heavy jug sloshing water against your legs, is a true test of endurance. This is not a single trip. It is a journey you will make multiple times a day, every day. It is the simple, unchanging rhythm of your existence. And another constant presence in your life is fear. Not the dramatic fear of war or rebellion, but a quiet, gnawing anxiety that lives in the very structure around you. The fear of fire is paramount. Your neighbors cook on open braziers inside their wooden framed rooms. A stray spark, a moment of carelessness, could mean disaster. You have heard the stories, and perhaps even seen the aftermath. An insula consumed by flames in the night is skeletal ruin by morning. Rome has a fire brigade, the vigils, but they're often too late. Their ladders too short to reach the upper floors of buildings like yours. And so, you live with the scent of smoke on the air, always alert to whether it is from a cooking fire or something more sinister. Then there's the fear of collapse. The landlords of these buildings are notorious for using the cheapest materials and building too high, too quickly. You feel the building sway in a strong wind. You see the cracks in the plaster on your walls. You hear the structure groan and settle at night. Every tremor, every strange noise, is a reminder of the fragility of your home. Life is a constant struggle for the basics. Your rent, paid to a landlord's agent you see only when he comes to collect, consumes the largest portion of your family's meager income. A day without work is a day closer to being cast out onto the street. Your meals are simple and repetitive. The foundation of your diet is bread, or the simple wheat porridge known as pools. If you are lucky, there might be some beans, lentils, or a few vegetables from the market. Meat is a rare luxury, perhaps a few scraps for a religious festival. Imagine walking through the streets of the suburb below your home. The alleys are narrow, perpetually cast in shadow by the towering buildings on either side. The crowd is a dense, flowing river of humanity. You must jostle for a space with senators' litters carried by slaves, with mules laden with goods, with beggars displaying their ailments, and with children darting through legs and round corners. You must keep a hand on your purse, for pickpockets are everywhere. Sanitation is a public affair, and not a pleasant one. Waste from the upper floors is often simply tossed from a window into the street below. Passers-by must be wary, listening for the shouted warning of cave. Look out before a pot of refuse is emptied. For more formal needs, there are the public latrines. These are long marble benches with holes in them, set over a channel of constantly flowing water. There are no stalls, no privacy. They are social hubs, where neighbors might catch up on gossip while attending to their needs, the sound of running water doing little to mask the communal reality. As the sun begins to set, the character of the street changes. There are no streetlights in Rome. When darkness falls, it is absolute and dangerous. The respectable citizens hurry home, barring their doors. The alleys belong to the night. To be caught out after dark is to risk being mugged by the desperate or falling victim to senseless violence. Your small room, 5 floors up, with its store-bought, feels like a sanctuary, however flimsy. As night settles, the noise of the city softens, but it never truly disappears. It becomes a low, indistinct hum. You lie on your mattress, listening to the sounds of the insula settling round you. The day is done. You have earned enough for food. You have holed your water. The building still stands. The fire has not come. You have survived. In the vast, powerful city of Rome, this is your victory. And in the relative quiet of the night, you can let your mind drift. You can think of the stories you've heard, tales of the great men and women who shaped the city, of generals and their conquests, of politicians and their speeches. These figures feel as though they belong to another world, a world of marvel and influence, far from the daily grind of the Suburra. But the lives of the great and the small in Rome were often intertwined in surprising ways. The struggles of the common person could, at times, ignite the passions of the powerful, leading to moments of profound change and conflict. As you rest here, safe in the present, let us leave the crowded streets of the Suburra behind. Let us turn our attention to one of those powerful figures, a woman whose story of family, pride, and political fire would echo through the very foundations of the Roman Republic. A woman known to history simply as the mother of the Gracchi. We leave the bustling, anonymous world of the insula and drift backwards in time. The year is no longer 110 AD. We travel back more than 2 centuries, to the middle of the Roman Republic, a time before emperors, when the city was governed by its senate and its people. It was a period of immense expansion and social strain, a time when old values clashed with new wealth. And at the heart of this changing world lived a woman who would become a legend, Cornelia. Cornelia was born into the highest echelon of Roman aristocracy. Her father was Scipio Africanus, the celebrated general who had defeated Rome's greatest nemesis, Hannibal, in the Second Punic War. To be the daughter of Scipio was to be something more than just a noble. It was to be a living symbol of Roman victory and virtue. From her earliest years, she was recognized for her sharp intellect and her poised character. In an age when the education of women was often an afterthought, Cornelia was fluent in both Latin and Greek, and she cultivated a deep appreciation for literature and philosophy. She was not merely accomplished, she was formidable. Her letters, famous for their elegant and precise prose, were studied by orators like Cicero for generations to come. She married a prominent statesman, Tiberius Sempronius Gracchus, a man much her senior, and together they had 12 children. Yet, in a testament to the harsh realities of life even for the wealthy, only 3 survived into adulthood, a daughter, Sempronia, and 2 sons, Tiberius and Gaius. After her husband's death, Cornelia chose not to remarry, despite receiving a proposal from a king, Ptolemy of Egypt. She declared that she would devote her life entirely to the education and upbringing of her children. It was in this role, as a mother, that she would find her place in history. There is a story told about her, a simple anecdote that illuminates her character more than any list of accomplishments. A wealthy society woman, a guest in Cornelia's home, was showing off her collection of magnificent jewels, emeralds, pearls, and diamonds, glittering in the light. After displaying her treasures, she asked Cornelia to see hers. Cornelia waited, and just then, her 2 young sons, Tiberius and Gaius, returned home from their studies. She brought them forward, placing a hand on each of their shoulders. And with a quiet, steady pride, she looked at her guest and said, "These are my jewels." For Cornelia, her sons were her life's work. She instilled in them not only a deep love for the Republic, but also a profound sense of duty, a belief that their noble birth came with an immense responsibility to the Roman people. And it was a responsibility that Rome desperately needed them to fulfill. The Republic in the 2nd century BC was suffering from its own success. As Roman legions conquered vast territories, immense wealth flowed back to the city, but it was concentrated in the hands of a few powerful senatorial families. These families bought up huge estates, the latifundia, working them with armies of slaves captured in war. At the same time, the small citizen farmers who formed the backbone of the Roman army were being ruined. They would leave their farms to fight for years in distant lands, only to return home to find their land fallow, and their families deep in debt, often forced to sell their ancestral plots to their wealthy neighbors. These landless citizens then flocked to Rome, swelling the population of districts like the Subra, living in poverty and dependent on the political factions for their survival. This growing inequality was a wound in the heart of the Republic, and it was this wound that Cornelius' eldest son, Tiberius Gracchus, sought to heal. Tiberius, the elder and more methodical of the two brothers, was elected tribune of the plebs in 133 BC. This was a powerful position, created to protect the rights of the common people. Troubled by the plight of the landless veterans, he proposed a simple, yet revolutionary, law. It would enforce an old statute limiting the amount of public land any one individual could control. The excess land, illegally held by the wealthy elite, would be reclaimed by the state and redistributed in small parcels to the poor and landless citizens. To Tiberius and his supporters, it was a matter of fundamental justice. To the powerful senators who controlled that land, it was a direct assault on their wealth, their power, and the established order. The opposition was immediate and fierce. They saw Tiberius not as a reformer, but as a demagogue, stirring up the mob for his own ambition. When the Senate refused to fund his land commission, Tiberius took the radical step of bypassing them entirely, funding it with the treasury of a newly acquired kingdom. When a fellow tribune, a man in the pocket of the senators, vetoed his proposal, Tiberius had him removed from office, an unprecedented act that shattered political norms. The situation grew tense. The city became a cauldron of political fervor. On the day of the vote for his re-election, tensions boiled over. A crowd of senators and their armed clients, convinced that Tiberius meant to make himself king, marched on the assembly. In the chaos that followed, a taboo that had held for centuries was broken. Tiberius Gracchus, his sacrosanct tribune of the plebs, was struck down and killed, his body unceremoniously thrown into the Tiber River along with those of hundreds of his supporters. It was the first time that political debate in Rome had ended in such open bloodshed. Cornelia had lost her first jewel. For 10 years, a tense peace settled over the city. Cornelia grieved, but her resolve did not break. She focused now on her younger son, Gaius. He was more passionate, more fiery, a more gifted orator than his brother. And in 123 BC, he too was elected tribune. He came to power not just to continue his brother's work, but to avenge it. Gaius Gracchus unleashed a torrent of legislation. He renewed the land law, but also instituted a state-subsidized grain price for the poor, initiated large public works projects to create jobs, and attempted to break the Senate's monopoly on the law courts. His agenda was broader, more ambitious, and even more threatening to the senatorial elite. They fought back with cunning. They outbid him in popular promises, proposing even more lavish distributions to the people to siphon away his support. They spread rumors and cast suspicion on his motives. The final confrontation came when Gaius sought a third term as tribune. His political enemies, now in control of the government, engineered a crisis. They passed a decree known as the Senatus Consultum Ultimum, the ultimate decree of the Senate, which was effectively a declaration of martial law, empowering the consuls to do whatever was necessary to protect the Republic. It was a license to kill. The city descended into open street fighting. Gaius and his followers retreated to the Aventine Hill, but they were no match for the organized forces sent against them. As his enemies closed in, Gaius fled. Knowing he would be captured and killed, he ordered his loyal personal slave to end his life. Cornelia had now lost her second and last jewel. Her life's work, her pride, her two brilliant sons, had both been consumed by the very republic they had tried to save. But Cornelia did not break. She retired from the public eye to a seaside villa at Messinum. She lived out her days not as a figure of tragedy, but as a revered icon. Her home became a salon, a center of intellectual life where she received scholars, philosophers, dignitaries from across the Mediterranean world. It was said that she spoke of her sons' lives and their ambitions without a single tear, recounting their stories with pride, as if she were speaking of the heroes of old. Her stoic endurance in the face of such profound loss became a model for Roman matrons for all time. After she passed away, the people of Rome, who had never forgotten her sons, erected a bronze statue in her honor. It was the first public statue of a Roman woman who was not a goddess or a mythical figure, and its simple base carried an inscription that captured the entirety of her identity, her sacrifice, and her legacy. It did not mention her famous father. It did not list her own accomplishments. It simply said, Cornelia, mother of the Gracchi. The story of Cornelia and her sons is a story of the great, public dramas of Roman politics, law, and civil strife. But Rome was also a city of private belief, of quiet rituals, and of hidden worlds. As the Republic fell and the Empire rose, many Romans sought solace not in the political forum, but in the spiritual darkness of mystery cults that promised personal salvation. Let us now leave the sunlit, blood-soaked world of Roman politics and descend into one of these hidden worlds, into the dark, underground temples of a god who was a favorite of the Roman soldier, a god known as Mithras. In the sprawling, multicultural world of the Roman Empire, the official state religion, the worship of Jupiter, Juno, Mars, and the other great gods of the Capitoline Hill was largely a civic duty. It was a matter of public ritual, of patriotism, of ensuring the Pax Diorum, the peace of the gods, for the good of the state. But for personal solace, for a deeper spiritual connection, for the promise of life after death, many Romans turned elsewhere. They turned to the mystery cults. These were not replacements for the state religion, but supplements to it. They were private, voluntary associations, open only to initiates who underwent secret rites and swore oaths of silence. There was the cult of Isis, the Egyptian goddess who promised motherly protection and rebirth. There was the cult of Cybele, the great mother goddess from Anatolia, with her dramatic and ecstatic rituals. And then there was one of the most widespread and enigmatic of them all, the cult of Mithras. Unlike the others, the cult of Mithras was for men only, and for this reason. It became immensely popular with the soldiers of the Roman legions, with merchants, and with the administrative officials of the empire. It was a religion of brotherhood, of loyalty, of order and hierarchy, the very values that held the Roman army and state together. To understand its appeal, you must first imagine its place of worship. It was called a Mithraeum, and it was always hidden. You would not find it standing proudly in the forum. You would find it in the basement of an apartment block in Rome, or in a natural cave on the German frontier, or in a specially constructed underground chamber beneath a merchant's villa at the port of Ostia. Imagine yourself as a new initiate. You are led away from the noise and the sunlight of the everyday world. You descend a flight of stone steps into the cool, subterranean dark. The air changes. It is thick with the scent of damp earth, rich incense, and the lingering smell of roasted meat from a previous ceremony. The only light comes from the flickering flames of oil lamps and torches, casting long, dancing shadows on the walls. The chamber is long and narrow, like a cave. Down the center is an aisle, and on either side are raised stone benches, covered with cushions or cloths. This is where the initiates, your new brothers, would recline for their sacred communal meal. The space is small, intimate, designed to hold no more than 20 or 30 men at a time. This is not a religion of vast congregations, but of small, tightly knit groups. At the far end of the chamber, in the place of highest honor, is the central icon, the image that is the source of all the cult's mysteries. It is a sculpture or a painting of a scene known as the tauroctony, the bull slaying. Picture it in the flickering torchlight. A young, powerful god, Mithras, is the central figure. He is energetic and strong, dressed in a flowing tunic and trousers, and on his head he wears a soft, pointed hat, the kind a traveler from the east might wear a Phrygian cap. He kneels on the back of a great bull, pulling its head back with one hand. In his other hand, he plunges a short sword into the bull's shoulder. Yet his face is turned away, his expression not of anger or struggle, but of serene, cosmic purpose. He looks away from the act as if his gaze is fixed on some higher reality. The scene is filled with other figures, each one deeply symbolic. A dog leaps up to lick the blood flowing from the wound. A snake slithers on the ground, also moving toward the blood. And at the bull's genitals, a scorpion clamps down, a small point of destructive darkness. From the bull's tail, it appears that stalks of wheat are sprouting. Above the scene, a raven looks on, a divine messenger. And flanking the whole tableau are two smaller figures, identical to Mithras in dress. One, named Quartz, holds his torch pointed up. The other, Cortopates, holds his torch pointed down. This is the central image of the faith, and it is also the central puzzle. For despite finding hundreds of these Mithria, from Syria to Britain, archaeologists have found no sacred texts, no holy book, no scripture that explains what this scene means. The initiates swore an oath of secrecy, and they kept it. All we have is this powerful, recurring image. Modern scholars believe the key to unlocking the mystery may lie in the stars. The leading theory is that the tauroctony is not a literal story, but a complex astronomical map. Mithras himself may represent the constellation Perseus, which in the sky is located just above the constellation of the bull, Taurus. The dog could be Canis Minor, the snake Hydra, the scorpion Scorpio, and the raven Corvus. The bull slaying, in this interpretation, is a depiction of a great cosmic event, perhaps the moment when Mithras, as a solar deity, ended the age of Taurus and initiated a new era. Or perhaps it represents the precession of the equinoxes, a vast, slow turning of the heavens that only those with advanced astronomical knowledge would understand. It was a secret of the universe, revealed only to the initiated. The journey to understand these secrets was a long one. An initiate had to pass through 7 grades of initiation, each with its own ritual, its own symbolic meaning, and its own guardian planet. You would begin as a Corax or raven, under the protection of Mercury. Then you might become a nymphus, a bridegroom, under Venus. Then a Miles, a soldier, under Mars. You would ascend through Leo, the lion, Perses, the Persian, and Heliodromus, the sunrunner, until you reached the highest grade, that of Pater, the father, who was protected by Saturn, the god of time itself. Each step would have involved tests of faith and courage. Ancient writers, hostile to the cult, speak of ordeals. We can only imagine what they were. Perhaps a period of fasting, or being blindfolded and led through a dark labyrinth. Perhaps tests of heat and cold, or sworn oaths taken at sword point. These were not meant to be punishments, but symbolic journeys, ways of shedding one's old self to be reborn into the brotherhood of the cult. At the heart of the ritual was the sacred meal, eaten while reclining on the stone benches. It was a bond of fellowship, a shared experience that forged a powerful sense of community and loyalty among the men. Here in the warm torch-lit dock, a soldier stationed on the cold frontier of Britain could feel a connection to a merchant in the bustling port of Alexandria shared secret knowledge that bound them. together as brothers under the watch of the unconquered sun god Mithras. The cult offered a clear path of advancement, an ordered and hierarchical universe, and the promise that the loyal soul would be guided by Mithras after death. On a journey through the 7 planetary spheres, ascending to a final home in a realm of eternal light. This hidden world of brotherhood and celestial mystery provided an anchor for men navigating the vast and often impersonal Roman Empire. In the darkness of their cave-like temples, they found an order to the cosmos. But outside, in the sunlit world, another man was meant to be the source of all order. A man whose power was absolute, whose home was a palace that dominated the city, and whose favor was the only thing that mattered. Let us now leave the secret darkness of the Mithraeum. Let us ascend, climbing the Palatine Hill, the ancient heart of Rome, to a place of unimaginable wealth and suffocating power. Let us witness a day in the life of the emperor himself, the ruler of this vast world, the master of all he surveyed. We ascend now, leaving the dark, hidden spaces of the city behind. We climb the gentle slope of the Palatine Hill, the most exclusive of Rome's 7 hills, the traditional home of its most powerful citizens. But we are going to a residence that is more than just a home. It is the very center of the Roman world. We are going to the Flavian Palace, the colossal structure built by our emperor, Domitian. Imagine a building so vast it seems less like a house and more like a small city in itself. Its halls are cavernous, lined with vibrant marble imported from every corner of the empire, golden-veined yellow from Numidia, mottled purple from Phrygia, deep green from Greece. The floors are intricate mosaics of colored stone, and the gilded ceilings are so high they seem to touch the sky. Fountains murmur in vast, sun-drenched courtyards, and gardens filled with exotic plants offer manicured views of the city below. This palace was designed for one purpose above all others, to inspire and to remind every visitor of the immense, almost divine, power of the man who lived within it. The emperor's day begins not with the sounds of the city, but with the hushed, ritualized movements of his personal slaves. Every aspect of his morning is a ceremony, from the water he washes with to the robes he puts on. He is the master of the world, but he is also the lead actor in a constant, unceasing performance of power. The first great scene of the day is the salutation, the morning greeting. As the sun rises over the city, the great doors to the palace's audience hall, the Aula Regia, are thrown open. Inside, hundreds of men have been waiting, some for hours. These are the senators of Rome, the wealthy equestrians, the petitioners from distant provinces. They are arranged in strict order of precedence, a living map of the empire's hierarchy, and then the emperor appears. He does not walk among them. He is seated on a raised platform, a remote and immovable figure. Domitian was known to be particularly insistent on this formality. He was not the first citizen, as earlier emperors had styled themselves. He was Dominus et Deus Lord and God. One by one, or in small groups, the great men of Rome shuffle forward. They bow, not as to an equal, but as to a superior being. They murmur their greetings, their voices thick with practiced deference. Ave, Caesar. Ave, Imperator. A senator might whisper a piece of gossip, hoping to curry favor. A petitioner might offer a gift. A general might give a brief report from the frontier. Imagine the atmosphere in this grand hall. It is not one of warmth or genuine respect. It is thick with tension and fear. The senators, whose ancestors had governed the Republic, resent this daily act of submission. They whisper their pleasantries while their minds race with calculation and intrigue. And Domitian, from his throne, watches them all. He is famously paranoid, his gaze scanning every face for the slightest hint of insincerity, for any sign of a conspiracy. He is the center of this universe, and yet he is utterly, profoundly alone. After the salutatio is complete, the Emperor's workday begins. He retreats to his offices to meet with his inner council. Here, in these rooms, the real business of the Empire is conducted. Decisions made here will affect the lives of millions. An edict is drafted to raise taxes in Egypt. A new governor is appointed for Hispania. The plans for a new aqueduct in Gaul are approved. An endless river of information flows into this palace, from every province and every legion. And it is all distilled and presented to this one man. His power is absolute. He is the supreme judge. When important legal cases rise, especially those involving treason or senators, it is Domitian who hears them. His verdict is final. There is no higher court of appeal than the Emperor himself, and through it all. His paranoia is his constant companion. The historian Suetonius tells us that Domitian had the long porticos where he took his daily walks lined with highly polished, translucent stone, which acted like a distorted mirror. He did this so that he could always see the reflection of anyone approaching him from behind. His vast, beautiful palace was also his gilded cage, even his moments of leisure performances. Lunch might be a multi-course affair featuring the most expensive and exotic foods imaginable, prepared by the finest chefs. But he often ate alone, or with only one or two trusted family members. An invitation to dine with the Emperor was a great honor, but also a source of great anxiety. This was never more true than at the evening banquet, the Cena. Imagine being a senator invited to Domitian's table. You would recline in a magnificent dining hall, the triclinium, on a couch draped in purple cloth. The finest wines would be served in crystal goblets. The food would be a spectacle of culinary artistry. But the atmosphere would be anything but relaxed. The historian Cassius Dio tells her. Particularly cruel banquet Domitian once hosted. The guests, all prominent citizens he suspected of disloyalty, were led into a room decorated entirely in black. The walls, the ceiling, the couches all black. At each place was a small stone column, like a miniature gravestone, with the guest's name carved upon it. The only light came from lamps also shaped like funeral markers. Then, a host of silent, naked slaves, their bodies painted black, entered and performed a slow, terrifying dance before serving the guests a meal consisting only of foods that were typically offered at funeral feasts. The guests were paralyzed with fear. Convinced they were about to be executed, they sat in silence, expecting a sword at their neck at any moment. At the end of the horrifying meal, after hours of psychological torment, Domitian simply dismissed them. He later sent each guest their gravestone, their black-painted slave, and the silver dishes they had eaten from as a parting gift. It was a chilling reminder of his absolute power over their lives, a display of cruelty for its own sake. And so, at the end of the day, the Emperor retires to his private apartments in the palace. The city below grows quiet. The senators and petitioners have all gone home. He is surrounded by his personal guard, the Praetorians, the most elite soldiers in the Empire. He is the most powerful man on earth, the ruler of a domain that stretches from the deserts of Africa to the misty shores of Britain. And yet, he is a prisoner of his own power, trusting no one, seeing potential enemies in every shadow, safe nowhere, not even in his own home. He has everything a man could want, except for the one thing he can never have, a moment of true peace. And now, our journey through the Roman world is complete. Your time in the past is at an end. We have walked the precarious line of survival in a fifth-floor insula, feeling the daily struggle of the common soul. We have stood in the shadow of the fierce and noble Cornelia. A mother who watched her ideals and her children consumed by the republic they loved. We have descended into the secret, torchlit darkness of a Mithraic temple, searching for order in the stars. And we have sat in the unnerving silence of an emperor's banquet, witnessing the profound loneliness of absolute power. Each life, each story, was a thread in the vast, complex tapestry of Rome. And now, we let those threads go. The concerns of the Roman world are no longer yours. The struggle for rent, the sting of political defeat, the secrets of the cult, the paranoia of the emperor, let it all dissolve. Let it drift away, like ancient dust carried on the wind. All that matters now is the quiet comfort of the present moment, the feeling of the bed beneath you, the gentle weight of your blanket, the safety and the peace of your own room. The sounds of ancient Rome have faded, replaced now only by the soft and steady rhythm of your own breathing. There is nothing left to do. There is nothing left to see. The story is over. All that remains is rest, deep, peaceful, and well-deserved rest. Sleep well.